Hello viewers, this is your host Bianca Saurashtra and we'll be bringing to you some of the prominent news stories from across the world. Let's have a look at the headlines. Blaze at India firecracker warehouse kills 11 people. Australian diver comments on Thai cave rescue operation. United Kingdom Chief Medical Officer says risk to the public low after latest Novichok poisoning. Statue of Liberty banner hangers arrested in New York City. Kim.com eligible for extradition to US from New Zealand in setback for internet mogul. Let's have a look at the stories in detail. A blaze at a firecracker warehouse in southern India killed 11 people. The fire caused explosions in the warehouse in Kotilingala, a village in the Telangana state. Police Commissioner V. Ravindra said that the bodies were charged beyond recognition. According to reports, the cause of the fire is being investigated. So far, 5 people have been hospitalized. Kotilingala is located 200 kilometers north of Hyderabad, the joint capital of the Telangana and Andhra Pradesh states. India has a huge demand for firecrackers, which are used in religious festivals and weddings. There are fatal accidents nearly every year as people work in makeshift factories that lack proper safety standards.
మొత్తం మంటలే పటాకులు కాల్చండి మొత్తం మంట మంటుంది దెబ్బగా లోడ్ బయట
A member of the Australian Federal Police who are assisting Thai authorities in rescuing the 12 boys and their football coach trapped inside a cave in northern Thailand said that the rescuing of the boys remained a challenge. Matt Fitzgerald from Australia's Federal Police Tactical Response Dive Team told reporters despite zero visibility and confined space, rescuers were working around problems. Thai officials have said that they prefer to get the boys out as soon as possible because heavy rains is expected to start in the next few days, which almost surely will raise water levels again in the cave, making passage in some areas even more difficult if not possible. They are hoping that an upgraded draining effort can lower the water level in an area where it is just still at the ceiling or just about. The idea is to get some headroom so the boys would not be reliant on scuba apparatus for a long stretch and could keep their heads above water.
At this point in time, the AFP dive team have reached cave point 3 inside the cave, which is approximately 1.5 kilometres in.
And that's the point, isn't it, where it becomes dive only to get through? Is that right?
Yes, at that point in time, it's a specific dive requirement, and unfortunately, based on some of our equipment, it's a challenge for us at this point in time, which we're working on.
The boys aged 11 to 16 and their 25-year-old coach disappeared after they went exploring in the Tham Luang Nang known cave in the northern province after a football game on June 23rd.
The cave is quite challenging, obviously. There's zero visibility, it's a confined space, so it's a challenge.
British police says 2 Britons who fell critically ill in the towns of Amesbury were exposed to a nerve agent named Novichok, the same material used to poison a former Russian spy in a nearby area last spring.
We know what the nerve agent is, we know they've been exposed to it, and clearly the line of inquiry we're following is a very detailed examination of their movements, just like we had to do with Yulia and Sergei to determine where they might have been exposed. So we know what the nerve agent is, we don't know what the transmission mechanism was, which is why the professor's advice is so pertinent, because actually we shouldn't be picking up anything that we have no idea what it is, and that basically because we have no idea what container that may have contained the nerve agent at this time.
Medical officials said that people who had been in the area where the couple had been should take precautions and wash their clothes.
These 2 patients are in a critical condition following exposure to the nerve agent Novichok. Following events in March, we have a well-established response to this type of incident and clear processes to follow. Our priorities at this time are to care for the patients and to understand the circumstances surrounding how these 2 individuals became unwell thus ensuring there is no further risk to the public's health from this incident. I should also warn the public to be careful, as always, of picking up any unknown or already dangerous objects, such as needles and syringes. You do not need to seek advice from a health professional unless you are experiencing symptoms, as any individual who had been significantly exposed at the same time wouldn't by now have symptoms.
Police said that it is unclear if this incident is linked to the earlier poisoning of Sergei and Yulia Skripal, or if the batch was the same as the one that poisoned them on March 4th. Counter-terrorism police detective Neil Basu said that it is unclear if the couple were targeted or if the poisoning was accidental.
Well, I think we have to remember what the professor's advice was, that this remains a low risk to the general public. We've obviously cordoned off areas where we know that our 2 victims today have been, and we'll be examining those meticulously. Where we have decontaminated sites from the previous exposure to this nerve agent, we are happy that those sites are safe and the public should know that they are safe. We will continue the investigation as diligently and as quickly as possible. It requires great care, but we're satisfied that if anyone was exposed to that level of nerve agent by now, they would be showing symptoms. And as I've said, it's very important. No one has presented with those symptoms so far.
Several people have been arrested after hanging a banner calling for abolishing immigration and customs enforcement from the Statue of Liberty's pedestal on the 4th of July, and authorities say a person is now scaling the statue's base. National Park Service spokesperson Jerry Wills says the climber was at the base beneath the statue's foot. Jerry Wills says police are atop the base advising the climber to go down. It is unclear whether the climb is related to the earlier banner demonstration. Jerry Wills says at least 6 people were taken into custody then. He says federal regulation prohibits hanging banners from the monument. The banner said that abolish ICE, referring to part of the Department of Homeland Security. ICE officers arrest and deport unauthorized immigrants among other duties.
Breaking news, look at it. That's probably not off.
Flamboyant internet entrepreneur Kim Dotcom and 3 of his former colleagues have lost their latest bid to avoid extradition to the US to face criminal charges. New Zealand's Court of Appeal upheld earlier court rulings that found the men were eligible to be handed over to the US authorities. The country's Justice Minister Andrew Little will get the final say on whether Dotcom is extradited in the latest decision stands.
Well, the Court of Appeal has upheld the earlier court decisions saying that he is eligible for extradition. He's now got to think about whether he wants to exercise his potential last right of appeal. He'd have to seek leave to the Supreme Court, our highest court, to do that. Until he has exhausted all his legal appeals and legal processes, there's nothing for me to do. But if ultimately the decision is upheld that he is eligible for extradition, then I will have to consider the matter. But I won't be saying anything about that until I am seized of that and it is on my desk.
But Little told reporters in the Wellington that he is unable to make any decisions on the matter until Dotcom has exhausted all the legal processes. Dotcom's lawyer, Ira Rodkin, said that they were disappointed with the judgment and plan to file an appeal with the New Zealand Supreme Court.
It's a Court of Appeal decision. He'll have 28 days to decide whether or not to appeal. He has to apply for leave to appeal to the Supreme Court. Because extradition tends to bear on some pretty serious constitutional rights, there's a high likelihood that the Supreme Court would want to hear the case. They've heard extradition appeals before. That could take some time, and until that time, we won't really know. and I don't know when it will hit my desk, if it gets there at all.
The latest decision comes more than 6 years after US authorities shut down .com's file-sharing website called Mega Upload and filed charges of conspiracy, racketeering and money laundering against the men. If found guilty, they could face decades in prison. Mega Upload was once one of the internet's most popular sites. US prosecutors say it ranked in at least $175 million, mainly from people using it to illegally download songs, television shows and movies. .com argues that he can't be held responsible for others who choose to use his site for illegal purposes, and that any case against him should haven't been heard in civil court. He says he never lived in the US or even visited the country and didn't have a company there. In addition to .com, who founded Mega Upload, was its biggest shareholder.
The way extradition decisions work is there's the decision about eligibility for extradition, then there's the decision about whether the person should actually be extradited. And I have to look to the law for that, I have to look to precedent, and I'll take advice on that. Until such time we get to that point, I won't be making any comment on.
The US is also seeking to extradite former Mega Upload officers Matthias Ortman, Bram van der Kolk and Fien Batato.
You know, extradition is a major thing. It's an incredible erosion of someone's liberty. So it is right that we take the time and effort for the legal decision to be correct, and before I as Minister of Justice get to make a decision.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching.